What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with my review of the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the Galaxy A14 5G is one of the latest budget affordable options from Samsung, and as the name of the phone does imply, this phone does feature 5G connectivity. Now, in the past, that's a feature that you wouldn't really find that often with lower-end phones. But clearly, with 5G being kind of the present and future, it's nice to see that we are getting 5G with even the lowest of the low end. Now, the predecessor to this device, the Galaxy A13 5G, also had 5G connectivity, but prior to that, we had the Galaxy A12, and that was 4G LTE only. But the A13 5G was very successful, and I'm definitely expecting the A14 5G to be very successful as well, because this device essentially builds upon all the great things about its predecessor, and we're even getting more. Another awesome thing too about the Galaxy A14 5G, and especially in the US, is the availability. This phone is being sold on all the various major US carriers. You can also get it factory unlocked from Samsung directly, and it's also offered factory unlocked at other retailers too. And for your convenience, I will be linking to this device in the video description so you can see the most up-to-date pricing and availability for it, because I'm sure as time goes on, that will change, and of course there's always various offers and promotions going on. Now, something worth considering is that if you are going to buy this phone factory unlocked, you probably will be paying a bit more compared to if you got the phone through a carrier, because the carriers tend to offer the best deals on various devices, since if you buy the phone through them, you're essentially stuck with that carrier with using the device, at least for an extended period of time. So it's tough to say if going one way or the other makes more sense or not. I mean, if you are really loyal to your carrier and you don't see the possibility of you moving anytime soon, then you may as well get the device through your carrier. But overall, I'd recommend just looking at all of your options and seeing what makes the most sense. Now, before I show you a variety of different things about the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, let's see what all comes included here in the box. So here's the box. You can see right there the name of the phone and a picture of the phone. Then opening this up, there's not a whole lot included. We do have a SIM card removal tool right there. And then we also have a packet. And in this packet, we have a double-sided USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. So this is really nice to have. And this phone does feature up to 15-watt fast charging. But keep in mind that to recharge the phone with this cable, you are going to need to provide your own USB wall adapter. And more specifically, a USB-C wall adapter. So if you don't have one of those already, you will have to go out and buy one. Maybe you have a laptop, for example, with a USB-C port, then I suppose you can actually use that as your charging brick. But in general, I would recommend getting a USB-C wall adapter if you don't currently have one, or just going with an older USB-C cable that connects to USB-A if you happen to have one of those. And then we also have a quick start guide for the device. Now, it is possible that the packaging and what's included could be a bit different for you depending on where you get the device at. I personally bought this phone from Samsung.com, factory unlocked. But with the Galaxy A14 5G, we're getting a really great looking display here. Now, this display is 6.6 inches, so a very large canvas. Now, the display features PLS LCD technology, so overall pretty good colors, especially for a lower end phone. Now, compared to a more advanced device like the Galaxy S23 Ultra, for example, there's no comparison, but for a phone that is a fraction of the price of that one, I feel like things are really good here. And then, with this display being 90 Hz as the refresh rate, you're getting a really smooth experience when navigating around the operating system and doing other various things here on the phone. Typically, with lower end devices, we get 60 Hz as the refresh rate, so again, having that faster refresh rate really is a great thing to see here, and it does make the phone feel a bit more expensive than it actually is. Now, the display resolution with this device is also a really nice thing to see, as it is 1080p. Usually with lower end Android smartphones, or any smartphone for that matter, the display resolution tends to be 720p, so having 1080 here is certainly a good thing. And if you're watching a 1080p video, or if you take a 1080p video, you'll be able to view it here on the device in that full resolution. Now, with this phone, we are getting a PPI 400, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 80.2% screen-to-body ratio. So overall, pretty small bezels. However, the bottom bezel is a little bit on the thicker side, and we do have a water drop notch up top here. But then going back to that 20:9 aspect ratio, that's really ideal for the way that people use their smartphones nowadays. Now, of course, you're still going to use the phone for texting and phone calls and all those various functions, but for doing other things like browsing the web or going on social media, keep in mind that you're going to be doing a lot of scrolling up and down, and technically with a display that's taller like this, you'll be able to fit more of your feed in a single frame, which really does make your experience better because you can see more content without having to scroll quite as much. Now the front-facing camera on this device is 13 megapixels, and stay tuned for later on in the video as I'll be showing you a variety of different photo and video samples from all the various cameras here on the phone. Now internally, with the Galaxy A14 5G, we have 64 gigabytes of internal storage along with microSD card expansion. So 64 gigs of storage is actually pretty good, especially for a lower end phone. Overall, I don't think you'll have any issues at all. And if for some reason you do want to offload photos and videos, you can always put those on the microSD card to free up some of that internal space. Now with this phone, there's no wireless charging, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the power button, which is very convenient. So let's give that a try right now. And you can see very fast and accurate. Let's try that one more time. There we go. So overall, a great functionality there. And in addition to having the fingerprint sensor, this phone also features Face Unlock. So I do appreciate that we have multiple methods here for getting into the phone. Now on the back of the device, there's a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. So this phone does support portrait mode for both the rear and front cameras, so if you're a fan of that feature, then certainly keep that in mind as this device will take care of those various needs. Now with the Galaxy A14 5G, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM paired up with the Samsung Exynos 1330 processor. Now I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 5, and I'll show you the scores in that test right now, but essentially I got a single core score of 527 and a multi-core score of 1662. So that's actually really impressive for a lower end phone like this one. And just know that you won't quite be getting the performance that you'd get with an S23 Ultra, for example, as that phone's very powerful, one of the most powerful in the market right now. But for a phone in this particular segment, this is probably one of the faster options available. I've seen other phones that this one competes against where both the benchmark scores and my experience in real life have not been nearly as fast. So Samsung really is giving us a lot of value here. Another thing to keep in mind too is that 5G connectivity. Now at this point in 2023, I certainly think you can get by without 5G. However, I feel like if you're gonna go through all the time and effort of getting a brand new smartphone, you may as well get one that does support your carrier's latest and greatest network. So at least with the A14 5G, you do have that. Now video recording with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G does max out at 1080p for both the front and rear cameras. So if you do have a 4K TV, then just know that you can't actually take 4K videos to show on that TV in that full resolution. But just like some of the other features, considering this is a lower end smartphone from Samsung, I feel like 1080p video recording is actually pretty decent. Now internally with this device, we're getting a 5000 milliamp hour internal battery, so a very large battery giving you a lot of capacity. And then along with that, we do have up to 15 watt fast charging. Now keep in mind, if you want to get the 15 watt fast charging, you are going to have to use a wall adapter that is compatible with 15 watt charging. So I know that there's many people that use an older wall adapter that they might have and they're wondering why their phone's charging slowly. That's a limitation with the wall adapter, not necessarily the phone itself. So remember that when you're actually recharging the phone. Now the software here is Android 13 with Samsung's One UI 5. So really cool to see that it does feature Android 13 out of the box. So that is the most up-to-date version of Android right now. And then along with that, we are getting Samsung Skin, which gives us a lot of extra bonus features. Now I have done a dedicated tips and tricks video about the Galaxy A14 5G on the channel here already. So certainly take a look at that video to learn more about the various software features here with the phone. But in addition to coming with Android 13 out of the box, Samsung is also very generous with their update policy. So in the past, they never really promised how many updates they give to their smartphones, but a few years ago they changed things to be a bit more competitive, and they have committed to giving their phones up to 4 years of Android updates. So just know that if you get this device, you'll be able to get newer versions of Android for many years to come, and you're not going to be stuck with an older version of Android here with the device. So in general, I really appreciate that from Samsung, as it does give the phone a bit more longevity compared to other phones that don't get a lot of updates. Now, with this phone, we are getting NFC, which is the technology that's used for tap and pay. So if you do want to make mobile contactless payments here with the device using Samsung Pay or Google Pay, then just know that you can do that. And that's not a feature that you necessarily find all the time with lower end phones, so I'm really glad that that is present here. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. This is with the standard camera right now. Now keep in mind that actually by default, you don't have the full 50 megapixels for the standard camera enabled. You will have to go up top here and switch over to 50 megapixels. However, if that's not a feature that you really care about, keep in mind that the 50 megapixel photos are going to take up a lot of space on your phone compared to the standard resolution. So I wouldn't really do that all the time unless you're fine with your phone filling up very quickly and you running out of storage. Now then from here, we can go over to portrait mode, and with that, we get those nice blurred out backgrounds. There's even a slider here to adjust the blur. So if you want less blur, you can do that. If you want more blur, you can do that too. So you can very easily customize things to exactly what your liking is. Then from here, we can go over to the More tab. And at the More tab, we can access the macro camera. And then with the macro camera, we can get very close up and have things be in really good detail. So certainly a nice feature as well. Maybe not something you'll use a ton, but still I'm glad that it is present here. Now flipping around to the front-facing camera, there's me right there. You can take standard selfies, and you can also crop out a little bit for group selfies, which is pretty cool. And then going over to portrait mode, you can also take portrait selfies. So you can get that nice blurred out background there. And just like the other portrait mode for the rear camera, you can also adjust the blur here as well. So in general, we're getting a lot of really good cameras here with the phone and also great camera features to back those up. But moving on, let's look at some various photo and video samples from the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Now in general, I'll let the quality speak for itself, but I've been very happy with the camera quality here on the phone. I've been able to take some really great looking photos and videos as well, which you'll see in a second, but for a phone in this segment, I feel like it's one of the best options available. So if you want to use this phone on a vacation, for example, and you want to take some really nice photos that you want to share on social media, the Galaxy A14 5G certainly will be the phone to accomplish that. Now, of course, if you move up market a little bit with a more expensive smartphone, you'll be getting way better camera quality, but for an affordable phone like this one, I feel like the quality is actually very impressive. So in general, I'm a big fan of it. But let's now take a look at some video samples from the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, coming at you with a 1080p front-facing test video from the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. I'm definitely really curious to know what you think about the video and audio quality. And here is a test video using the main rear camera at 1080p with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Overall, it seems like stabilization is pretty good here. And we do have very quick autofocus in video mode, which is great. Now taking a closer look at the hardware of the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here, but overall this phone is of decent quality. It is made completely of plastic besides the display, which is glass, but that's pretty standard for a phone in the segment. And keep in mind that it's probably a good idea to pair this phone up with a case so that the phone doesn't get too scratched up as time goes on, as plastic certainly is more prone to scratches compared to metal or glass. Now taking a look at the left side of the phone, we just have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side, we have volume up and volume down, and then also we have the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. Then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone, and then on the bottom of the phone, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. Also keep in mind that there is no stereo audio with the Galaxy A14 5G, so when you're watching videos or listening to music, you're only getting audio coming out of the main speaker here on the bottom. There is no secondary speaker to assist with that. And then on the back of the phone, we have the triple camera setup, we have the flash, and Samsung logo. And then this material on the back of the phone, I'm really not a big fan of. At first I thought it seemed decent, but I don't really like how it kind of holds in grease and stuff like that. So I wish they went with the phone with a smoother back. It does have kind of a interesting texture here too, but I think they could have done a better job with this. I'm not saying that it needs to be a glossy back, as I'm not a big fan of that either, but I feel like whatever material they went with here really isn't that good. To kind of reassess on whether or not it's still a good option. Now, of course, the phone itself is pretty much unchanged since it was launched, but at the same time... So as I kind of mentioned earlier on in the video, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G is an excellent smartphone for viewing video content. As you can see, it's a very immersive viewing experience, considering that we have that wider 20:9 aspect ratio display, but also the fact that we have that really nice looking PLS LCD display at 6.6 inches, really gives you a great image spread across a really large canvas. So overall, this is a great phone for entertainment. If you want to just sit back, relax, and watch video content, the A14 5G will not disappoint. But in conclusion, I do think the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G is a really impressive entry-level smartphone. You're getting 5G connectivity, you're getting pretty fast speeds overall with the phone, you're getting a large battery, you're getting the latest version of Android with Samsung's software added in, and you're also getting NFC and really good cameras too. So overall, I think this phone's a great option, certainly a very competitive product launch from Samsung, especially in the US market, and I'm really excited about it. But overall, I hope you enjoyed my review of the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. If you did, definitely give the video a thumbs up. With all that said, this is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.